These women were known as the worker ghosts, which is very eerie.
They found that the women's bones were honeycombed and moth-eaten. So holes had been made in these women's bones while they were still alive. They could not be saved, and yet they were determined to protect all other workers. The Radium Girls were the American women from the First World War who used to paint numbers on watches and dials with a luminous radium paint that glowed in the dark. And these women were taught to put their brushes laden with radium paint between their lips to make a fine point for the delicate handiwork. And in so doing, the women were swallowing that radium.
They were starting to experience very odd illnesses, pain in their jaw. They started to get tumors, yet there wasn't a name for what they were experiencing.
When the women started bringing it to their employers' attention that it was so dangerous, the company did not want to believe what the women were saying, and therefore they discredited them.
They would hire their own scientists who would produce the data they wanted to use to represent radium as safe.
Radium at that time was seen as a wonder element. People drank it not only to cure illness, but actually to ward off ill health.
And so the hardest thing was to find someone who would diagnose an illness that was actually linked to radium and acknowledge that it came from a workplace.
They were determined to hold the company to account for hurting them, literally with their dying breath.
Through the Women's Labor Network, they were trying to do research of their own to determine what is safe and having their own information that they could actually bring to the government in order to be able to create regulations.
It was one of the very first cases in which an employer was held responsible for the health of its employees. And so it lays the groundwork for organisations like OSHA that will eventually protect many millions of other workers.
We should look at the story as a model of collective action. They sought out experts who could help them gather what they needed in order to define what is health on the job.
They used that death sentence to give themselves a new way to life, a life that came through their legal legacy. I just think that is extraordinary.